The lights inside the studio were warm and blinding. The audience cheered loudly as Ellen DeGeneres stepped onto the stage, her smile wide, her energy playful. The cameras panned to the side where Clint Eastwood stood waiting to be introduced. He walked in slowly, hands in his pockets, calm as always. The clapping got louder. Ellen welcomed him with a cheerful grin. "Ladies and gentlemen, the legend himself, Clint Eastwood." Clint gave a polite nod, shook her hand, and sat down across from her. His face was calm, unreadable. He looked like a man who had nothing to prove. The audience quieted down, waiting for the jokes and stories to begin. Ellen leaned in, eyes twinkling. "Clint, it's great to have you here. You look like you just stepped out of one of your movies. So serious. You remember how to smile?" The audience laughed. Clint gave a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You always look like you're about to arrest someone," Ellen teased, waving her hand toward his expression. Clint chuckled lightly. "I guess that's just my face." Few minutes went by as expected. Ellen asking playful questions, Clint giving short, steady answers. But something in the air began to shift when Ellen made a joke about one of his older war films. "So, in that old movie Honor and Dust, you basically saved the world by yourself." "Very realistic," Ellen said with a grin. "Don't you think it glorified the old tough guy way of doing things? I mean, the world's changed." Clint sat up a little straighter. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Some things don't change," he said. "Courage, sacrifice. They don't go out of style." Len smiled. "Sure, but the idea of one man saving the world. Kinda old school, right?" Clint looked at her, calm but firm. "Some films aren't fiction." The audience quieted. Ellen laughed nervously. "Okay, so you're saying, what? That it was all real?" Clint didn't smile this time. He leaned forward just slightly, his voice lower now. Some orders weren't scripted. The silence in the room was sharp. The audience looked around, confused. The camera zoomed in on Ellen's face, her smile starting to fade. "Clint, are you saying something more here?" she asked, trying to keep the tone light. Clint didn't break eye contact. "You invited me to talk. I'm talking." Ellen sat back, looking toward the producers behind the cameras. Her mic, still hot, picked up a whisper she thought no one could hear. "Get legal on standby," she said under her breath. Clint heard it. The audience didn't know what to make of the moment, but they felt it. The mood had shifted completely, was no longer entertainment, was something else, now something dangerous. The cameras kept rolling. The world was watching. The air in the studio remained thick as Ellen adjusted herself in the chair, forcing a laugh that didn't quite land. Clint Eastwood hadn't broken eye contact. Stare wasn't hostile, but it was firm, like a man who had been underestimated too many times. Ellen tried to regain control. "Let's shift gears," she said, her voice light but tighter than before. "You've been in Hollywood for what, 6 decades? What's changed the most for you?" Clint didn't blink. "The silence," he said. "People used to speak freely. Now they look over their shoulder before every sentence." The crowd murmured. Ellen smiled, reaching for familiarity. "Well, free speech is still alive, and, well, here, I make fun of everyone equally," she said, gesturing toward the audience. "Even you, cowboy." "Freedom isn't the same as immunity," Clint replied coolly. "You mock, then hide behind applause. That's not truth. That's performance." Ellen's face stiffened. She glanced off stage. The producers behind the cameras were clearly uncomfortable, unsure whether to cut to commercial. She pressed on. "All right. Let's talk about your upcoming documentary." "Shadow Orders, right? Sounds ... intense. What's it about?" Clint took a deep breath. "It's not entertainment. It's history buried and burned. Orders carried out in silence. Actions taken under flags no one wants to admit flying." Ellen tried to joke. "Sounds like a great date night film." Clint didn't smile. It's about real missions, real consequences. And the people who gave orders without ever taking responsibility. That stopped Ellen. She leaned back slightly. You're being pretty cryptic, Clint. You're talking about war crimes. He paused just long enough to make it feel dangerous. Let's just say justice depends on who's writing the script. The audience shifted in their seats. The show was supposed to be light, fun, but now it felt like a live wire humming under everyone's feet. Ellen laughed again nervously. Okay, well, we're gonna need a commercial break soon. The audience wasn't laughing. Clint had gone off script, and they could feel it. He turned toward the crowd for the first time. You think everything's a show until someone bleeds. Then it's news. Then it's silence. A man in the front row nodded slowly. A woman in the back pulled out her phone. Ellen's producer stepped forward off camera, motioning to her with an urgent signal. Ellen's face twitched frustration, fear, or both. Then Clint added, "There are names in my film. It's people still in power. It's people who smile on talk shows." Ellen froze. Behind the scenes, someone whispered into a mic. The network's calling legal. This is going nuclear. Cliffhanger. A studio assistant rushes onto the stage, whispering into Ellen's ear. Her face turns pale as Clint quietly sets a black flash drive on the arm of his chair. The audience watches in stunned silence. The flash drive sat like a loaded weapon between Clint Eastwood and Ellen DeGeneres. It was small, silent, and deeply out of place. More threatening than a raised voice. More jarring than any insult. Ellen's eyes darted to it. Then to the assistant who had just whispered something urgent in her ear. The color drained from her face. She tried to steady herself. Clint, let's be clear. Are you saying this documentary of yours has actual names? Are you accusing people on air? Clint didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. I'm saying, he said slowly, that the past didn't vanish. It was buried, and I'm done helping cover it up. A hush fell over the studio. No applause, no laughter. Just cameras quietly rolling, capturing what no one expected from a daytime talk show. Ellen tried to spin. We're here for entertainment, not interrogations. This isn't a courtroom. Clint's reply was almost a whisper. No, it's a stage, and I played my part long enough. Behind the scenes, the control room was in chaos. A producer spoke into a headset. We need delay protocol. 7-second buffer. Legal says, cut to ad, now. But the director hesitated. The ratings were spiking, live stream numbers surging. Something real was happening, and in daytime television, that was rare gold. Still, the risk was high. Back on stage, Ellen leaned forward. You understand what you're implying, right? You're on live television accusing people, powerful people. That's defamation. I have footage, Clint said, nodding toward the flash drive. Signed orders, memos, photos, voice recordings. And why bring it here? She asked, why me? Because you mock what you don't understand, he said. You represent the filter, the spin machine. The laugh track over the truth. The audience gasped. A phone rang backstage, loud, shrill. A crew member answered, then froze. She mouthed the words, State Department. Meanwhile, Clint sat calmly, legs crossed, hands folded, like he was back on a movie set, but this time, no script. Ellen tried a softer tone. Clint, we've known each other a long time. I respect your legacy. But you're playing a dangerous game. He shook his head. No, I played it when I was younger. It's with a uniform, not a camera. This is truth. It's delayed for decades. The screen behind them, meant for audience graphics, suddenly flickered. Static, then black. A technician panicked. Feeds compromised. On Twitter, hashtags began trending. Hashtag Eastwood Files. Hashtag Ellen Exposed. Hashtag Shadow Orders Reporters. From rival networks flooded the lot outside the studio. Police scanners lit up with chatter about the broadcast. Clint's claims weren't just controversial, they hinted at something explosive. The kind of secret that governments classify and journalists chase for years. Ellen glanced at the flash drive again. "You're not going to plug that in, are you?" "No," Clint said. "You are." Before she could respond, the on-air screen behind them blinked on again. A still image, black and white. A military base. No date, no caption, but the implication was clear. The audience went silent again. Not even a cough. Clint stood up. "You asked about relevance, Ellen? That's what this is. Not a comeback. Not a legacy project. A reckoning." Cliffhanger as Clint walks off stage, security moves in. Ellen remains frozen in her chair, eyes locked on the screen behind her. The flash drive still rests where he left it, blinking red. The red blink of the flash drive pulsed like a warning. Ellen DeGeneres sat still, her fingers clutched tightly around the armrest of her chair. Jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the screen that had just displayed an unmarked military base. The live audience was breathless, caught between curiosity and between curiosity and fear. Some instinctively reached for their phones. Others simply stared. The producers behind the glass wall were no longer whispering, they were shouting. "Shut it down, I said! Shut it down!" One barked, but it was too late. The feed was already bouncing across global servers. Someone in the tech crew had looped the stream independently, broadcasting directly to the internet. Millions were now watching. Ellen's earpiece buzzed again. This time, it wasn't legal. It was the studio's director of security. "Ma'am," he said, "we've got federal agents at the rear entrance. They're not saying why, just badges and silence." Ellen stood up, smoothing the front of her jacket like it was armor. "Get 'em coffee," she said coldly. "Make them wait." She turned. Back to the camera, now rolling with a close-up of the flash drive. It blinked again. Ellen walked to the desk where Clint Eastwood had sat minutes before and picked it up like it was a live grenade. She faced the audience. "Well," she said, "that was not on the cue card." A laugh broke through. Nervous, fragile, but Ellen knew how to control a crowd. She always had. "Let me tell you all something," she said. "People think they know what daytime television is. Dances, giveaways, games. But today, we've apparently become a news network." The screen behind her suddenly shifted. Not static this time. Footage. Black and white surveillance. A hallway. Uniformed men. Something stamped in red in the corner. Project Harrow Level 3 access only. The room tensed again. In a windowless room beneath the Capitol, a man in a suit paused the video feed. A military officer leaned over his shoulder. "This wasn't supposed to surface," the officer muttered. "Too late," the man replied. "It's already out. And the public won't believe it's fake if it came from Eastwood." "Do we deny?" "No," the man said. "We buy time." Back in the studio, Ellen's hand hovered over the flash drive. "What you're seeing right now," she told her viewers, "I have not reviewed. I don't know what's on this, but I do know Clint Eastwood doesn't do publicity stunts." She plugged it in. The screen flashed to life with a menu. Classified recordings, memos, video files. The first file opened automatically. A conversation, fuzzy audio. To men one, a senator. The other, a general. "Senator, the problem isn't the optics. It's that the operation was recorded. General, we burned everything. Senator, not everything. He kept backups. And now he's talking to the actor." Ellen's face went pale. The studio audience heard it too. The words weren't fiction. They were planning, cover-up, collusion. Suddenly, the screen went black. A loud ping from the control booth. The main server crashed. Ellen looked toward the wings. Someone pulled the feed. A producer rushed in, face flushed. "They're inside. Federal agents, they're asking for you and the drive." Ellen stared at him, then at the audience, which was still live on streaming platforms. She leaned into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, it just became something much bigger than entertainment. This is history, and it's being rewritten right now. Cliffhanger. As agents step onto the stage, a loud voice booms from the speakers. Clint Eastwood, remote but unmistakable. Don't let them silence it. You know too much now. The agents moved in quietly but with unmistakable authority. No badges raised, no words spoken, just dark suits, clipped earpieces, and the kind of posture that meant no questions would be answered. Ellen didn't flinch. She stood by the desk, one hand still on the flash drive, the other steadying herself against the rush of adrenaline. Across the stage, the live audience was ushered out without announcement. Studio lights dimmed. The control room had gone dark. Only the emergency lighting remained, casting a pale blue hue over Ellen and the silent federal agents now circling her like chess pieces. She broke the silence. This is my studio. My name's on the walls. You want to arrest someone? Go ahead. But tell the cameras why. One agent stepped forward, eyes hidden behind polished lenses. We're not here to arrest you, Miss DeGeneres. He said, we're here to retrieve government property. She tapped the flash drive. This, he nodded. It was handed to me live on air by a citizen. It's a decorated one at that. Mr. Eastwood is under preliminary investigation. Ellen laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. For what? Speaking out loud. The agent's jaw clenched. This is not a debate. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Not another agent, not staff. It's a woman in a gray suit, military bearing, but civilian clearance. She walked straight to the desk, ignoring the cameras, and placed a thin folder in front of Ellen. Project Harrow, she said calmly. This is why we're here. Ellen opened it. Redacted lines, coordinates, names she didn't recognize. But one stood out. Brigadier General Nathan Lowell. She looked up. He's the one in the video. The woman nodded. And he disappeared 3 months ago. Disappeared officially. Reassigned, reality missing. The files Mr. Eastwood gave you aren't just old secrets. They're proof someone inside our government is erasing people. The flash drive suddenly felt heavier in Elon's hand. Backstage, her assistant whispered into her earpiece, frantic. Ellen, we've got reporters outside. MSNBC, Al Jazeera, even foreign press. The clip's viral. 70 million views and rising. Ellen blinked. Then we don't hide. She turned back to the agents. You're going to have to tell the American people why a talk show host was handed more truth than Congress has seen in 5 years. The lead agent stepped closer. That drive contains footage of unauthorized detentions, offshore operations, and one critical list: high-value citizens being monitored for psychological influence. That includes Eastwood. That includes you now. Ellen leaned forward. So we're targets. The woman in gray broke in, her voice calm. You're witnesses, and maybe our only leverage. Suddenly, the studio screen flickered back to life. Not by the crews. Doing it was a direct feed. A message. Clint Eastwood sitting in a dark room, camera grainy, his face partially in shadow. If you're seeing this, it means they made their move, he said. They'll call it classified. They'll say, it's a matter of national security. But what you have is bigger than secrets. You have accountability. He paused, then leaned in. Don't give them that drive. Make them take it. Make them explain why it exists at all. The screen went black again. The room was silent. Then the gray-suited woman reached into her coat and placed a second drive next to Elon's. A backup, she said. One Clint didn't know I made. Ellen looked at her, confused. I was there, the woman said. Before he was. I helped build Project Harrow. And I left when I saw what it became. Cliffhanger. A sudden alarm blares through the studio. Emergency door bursts open. A masked figure yells. The list is already out. They know who you are. The sound of the alarm was deafening, sharp and unrelenting, like it was warning. The world itself. Red lights spun across the studio walls. The masked figure at the door didn't wait for an invitation. They stormed in, black cargo jacket, gloves, boots moving with purpose, not panic, The list is public. The voice shouted, "You don't have time." Ellen stood frozen, staring. Federal agents instinctively reached for their concealed weapons. But the woman in gray raised a hand. "Stand down," she ordered. "He's not the threat. The threat is coming after him." The masked figure pulled off the hood. A young man, maybe late 30s, tired eyes, but burning with urgency. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I used to be NSA cybersecurity. I saw the data dump. 10 minutes ago, every name on that surveillance list. It just got posted on the dark web, manned mirrored worldwide." Ellen turned to the agents. "Is that true?" The lead agent didn't speak. He simply touched his earpiece, face tightening with each second. "Confirmed," he muttered. "Anonymous nodes. Over 1,000 servers. We can't shut it down." The woman in gray looked at the screen, still blinking black above them. "Clint knew. That's why he leaked it." The former NSA man stepped forward. He didn't just leak it. He triggered something bigger. An insurance policy. He pointed to Ellen's flash drive. "That's not just evidence. That's the map. It shows where these black sites were, who funded them, which senators signed off. It proves Eastwood wasn't acting alone. He was part of a resistance inside the intelligence community." One of the agents finally snapped. "This is treason." "No," the woman in gray said coldly. "What's treason is monitoring American civilians under mental influence programs. What's treason is disappearing military officers who refuse to follow illegal orders. And what's truly treason is thinking the truth can stay buried when the people are already watching." Ellen stepped back, breath catching in her throat. "This is bigger than my show. It's bigger than Clint." The masked man nodded. "It's about global exposure now. World leaders are on this list, people under influence, people controlled, people replaced in quiet coups. And it's not just America." Suddenly her earpiece clicked again. Her assistant whispering, "We've got a problem. 2 of our foreign correspondents are being detained in Brussels. And someone hacked our newsroom servers. Everything related to Clint's interview is being wiped." "Except this," Ellen said, gripping the drive. The gray-suited woman was already moving. "We need a secure channel. We need to get this to neutral ground somewhere international. Somewhere media still means something." "Hague," said the ex-NSA agent. "There's still trust there. Barely." "No," Ellen interrupted. "We do this live. We use the one thing Clint never had: reach. He had secrets. I have a satellite network. We go global in 90 seconds. Everyone paused. "Do it," said the gray-suited woman. The agents didn't stop them this time. Maybe it was fear, maybe it was respect. Or maybe they knew it was too late. Backstage, technicians worked quickly, bypassing corporate controls. Ellen's name was still attached to the broadcast pipeline. She could hijack the feed for exactly one global transmission. No edits, no commercial breaks. It's just truth. The countdown began. 5. Technicians hit the satellite relay. 4. The masked man uploaded the backup files. 3. The gray-suited woman patched in intelligence briefings from the last 5 years' redacted documents, now stripped bare. 2. Ellen stepped in front of the camera. The same stage that once held dancers, games, and celebrity laughter was now the center of a global reckoning. 1. The signal went live. Ellen stared into the lens. "My name is Ellen DeGeneres. You know me for laughter. Today, you'll know me for truth." She held up the flash drive. "This isn't about politics. It's about power and how it was hidden in plain sight. What you are about to see has been buried by your governments, your media, and even your faith in entertainment. But someone gave everything to pull it into the light." She paused. His name was Clint Eastwood. "And this is his warning. Cliffhanger." As the files begin to play live across the globe, the studio doors blow open once more this time. Not agents. Not hackers, but a former world leader, believed dead for years, walks through the smoke and says, "Shut it down. Now." Smoke curled into the studio, backlit by the emergency lights. The figure that emerged looked like a ghost pulled from a war documentary, tall, gaunt, dressed in a long overcoat, his white hair soaked with rain. The room froze. Someone whispered, "That's not possible." It was President Etienne Verneau, former leader of a nuclear nation. It declared dead 5 years ago in a military plane crash. It had been no body, only wreckage and theories. And now, here he was, walking through Ellen's studio with military precision. Shut it down, he said again, eyes locked on Ellen. The agent stepped back, confused. The woman in the gray suit narrowed her eyes. "How are you alive?" Verneau didn't answer her. He looked directly at the screen where the classified files were now broadcasting globally: maps, voice memos, financial trails, secret prisons, hypnotic influence programs tested on civilians. The truth that Clint Eastwood had paid dearly to reveal. "I warned him," Verneau said, quietly. "Years ago, we made a pact. If he exposed it, he wouldn't survive it. But I never thought he'd actually go through with it." Ellen stepped forward. Her voice was calm but shaking. "What is this really? Who's controlling this machine? Why are world leaders being tracked like criminals?" Verneau smiled, but it was hollow, because the war never ended. After the Cold War, we shifted from missiles to minds. The real battlefield became perception. Nations didn't invade, they infiltrated. You called them influencers, lobbyists, consultants. But they were operatives, planting ideologies like viruses. We were all infected. Then why did Clint fight it? The ex-NSA man asked. He had access. He could have played along, because Clint remembered something the rest of us forgot, Verneau replied. He knew what freedom was. And what it cost. The feed continued playing. Now, live video footage appeared, hidden camera recordings of secret rooms in foreign embassies. Biometric tests done on dissidents. Drones used not for war but for influence recalibration. The final file opened, a direct conversation between Law, like, look at this. And we all know I've left, look at this. And we all know I've been exploring that. Rhetoric. Tests done. On wall. 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 All wall. 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 I wall. 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 Get wall. 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 I see. I can you see you with you to go on. You see you you get with the I can you with the can we use crack I can't can we Clint Eastwood and a shadowy intelligence officer. Clint's voice, "If I don't make it, give it to Ellen. She still knows what a microphone is for." Ellen turned pale. Her hands trembled. "You were the failsafe," Verneau said. "Clint believed in you. He knew your reach wasn't just ratings, it was trust. Something our agencies couldn't manufacture." Suddenly, an urgent voice broke. "Through the studio comes, we've lost signal in Berlin, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo. Someone's jamming us. We have 2 minutes of open satellite left." The gray-suited woman spoke quickly. "We needed digital.